People, Deluded, I'm back again. Apologies for all the noise and things like that. I've literally just come out of Tesco's. I've got my lunch. You lot are getting on to me about finding a different place. I thought, why not here? I must admit, people, literally as soon as I press the record button, it's moving all mad, and there's all sorts of things going down everywhere, sort of thing. But moving on, like I was gonna say, just somewhat looking for the best place to stand now. What was I gonna say? We might as well talk about some transfer speculation in relation to Arsenal. First and foremost is actually in regards to Dani Ceballos. Now, Zidane's more or less said it's going to happen in different words. Well, that's not me saying it's a fact. That's what I took from his comments about Ceballos after the game. It's going to take a couple of days. Apparently, talks are obviously at an advanced stage, as you lot know. But at the end of the day, we're not sitting at the table. We don't know what I's need to be dotted, what T's need to be crossed, and what sort of finer margins sort of things have to be done there for them to really get that one over the line. But it looks to be done. Obviously, you saw the 2-2 game, 2-2 draw against Real Madrid. I know they won on penalties. If you haven't, go and check my reviews. I like to think you watched my review, people, because I stayed up for you like some stupid time. Shout out to the barbers behind me as well. Might as well get their thing. If you, not my sort of barbers, but if you want to cut your hair here, I'm standing outside there. Might as well bust them. But yeah, back on a serious note, hopefully Ceballos gets done. Sad for Asensio, obviously with the injury, it looks to be he'll be out for the long term for Madrid. Why am I mentioning Asensio, you ask? It's because, again, I don't think the two futures between the two players in Ceballos and Asensio are correlated, but at the same time, maybe Zidane might go, okay, we've lost Asensio, we need to keep a body, or I might need time to get a replacement in or do something else. Or it might not be none of that. It might be not irrelevant, but Ceballos can come to Arsenal on loan, so who knows. Another rumour I've seen, which I'm not too sure I believe, people, is Todibo of Barcelona, formerly of Toulouse. Obviously, the young 19-year-old hasn't had the best of times at Barcelona, not because he's been poor or anything, it's because it's tough to break into the Barcelona lineup when you're a young and developing player, and he's barely played. So with that in mind, he's been linked with Arsenal and AC Milan on loan. In terms of needing a centre-half, in terms of it's almost, we've only got a couple of weeks before the window's shut. The Saliba deal looks to be done. Obviously, you've seen pictures of him in London. Could we possibly get Todibo in, use him for a season similar to Ceballos, save some money in certain aspects? Now, of course, people, first and foremost, I would like a sort of experienced defender. In an ideal world, I'd like us to go for sort of a competent 26-year-old, not necessarily the biggest of names or known names. That's not me saying I'm discouraging anyone. I just feel if we've gone out and paid a decent outlay for Saliba, and we want this Everton guy or this Zaha dude or whatever, maybe if we could just get a case of scouts doing their job and find a centre-half, potentially we could go somewhere. Of course, I don't really care if it's a well-established centre-half or somebody else. Back to Todibo. I would take him on loan, but he is unpolished. You saw him at the Under-20 World Cup. He didn't have the best Under-20 World Cups, but he is a good player with a fantastic future. I know Barcelona would be kind of crazy because they just got him and he'll have resale value in the future, but if we're taking him where we went kind of wrong with Ceballos, I know Perez said we could talk next season. Apologies, but potentially could we get an option on Todibo? Personally, people, could we? Because Barcelona didn't get Deluded. If they go for another centre half next year, Todibo it might be hard for him to get games. Sorry, people, I need to change hands. It might be tough. It might be tough for Todibo to get games. Of course, that's probably not it. But for what it's worth, I'd entertain that rumour. What else have we got going on with Ceballos? It's quite irrelevant, people, but I saw it, so I thought I'd share it. He seems quite the character. Obviously, I know about him as a footballer. I don't know his personality and that, but apparently he's had spats with Zidane. He's took the mick out of Casillas' private parts on Twitter. That's what Adrian Kajumba on Twitter, I think a journalist, has said. He's had spats with Cesc Fabregas, with PK. So he's not afraid to stand up to more experienced players and challenge them. And it'll be interesting if he does come on loan for a year to see how Arsenal will use him specifically. Because, yeah, he can play in the Cam role, the Ramsey sort of role, the Ozil sort of role. But could it be a thing where it's Guendouzi, Torreira and Ceballos? Obviously, Jacques he's going to be captain and he'll be used significantly. But that's three dynamic midfielders, people that, if you don't feel that they're necessarily the best in terms of aggression and that, they cover a lot of ground. And Arsenal's pivot or midfield, whatever, last season, on top of everything you saw of us, we did have an issue in that regards because we did get overrun a couple of times. Numerous times, really and truly, and whatnot. The Daily Mail, I assume, has said that Zaha, we're running out of time to create that, to make that move happen. Commiserations to Zaha off topic, because I saw on his Instagram today he was the victim again of racial abuse, trolling in his Instagram DMs and things, and we know the internet provides a platform for cowards, but it's sad, man. It's really sad, because again, he can ignore it, but I get Instagram DMs as well. It's like, you see the request or the block, you still see these things. Obviously you have to have thick skin, and he has thick skin, and he's probably at the point where I wouldn't say he finds it funny, but it's like it doesn't shock him sort of thing. It's like a sad funny sort of thing. Well, it is what it is. But staying on task with Zaha, apparently the longer it goes on, in short, what I've seen in the Daily Mail, the longer this goes on, the more concerns Roy Hodgson has about getting a replacement, the angrier Crystal Palace get. Apparently the chances of a move are rated at 50-50. Who knows? This is all what the papers are saying and whatnot, people. It is what it is. You've heard a lot of rumours, a player permanently, Nelson on loan on top of money. Who knows, people? It's going to drag to the last day. Ideally, based on this, you'd like to think it doesn't. It just feels like a long drawn out process if it is to happen. Hopefully it doesn't, because the longer, again, that it goes without Palace potentially bringing someone in, they'll get angry. Yes, potentially giving them Nelson or someone on loan could help them, at least for the short term, but we'll see in that regards. What else, people? Apparently we've bidded for Nicolas Pepe. A source at Arsenal has told us, well, another person said that we bidded, but apparently, this is what I saw on Twitter, a source at Arsenal has told us that the Gunners believe they're still in the running for the Leo ace, despite developments at Manchester United, and are hoping to beat their top flight rivals to his capture. You've also heard that Manchester United have agreed personal terms with him, and it seems like Pepe is open to everything. I'm not saying he'll join Arsenal, but he strikes me as someone that's open to Arsenal, open to United, open to PSG. Previously was linked to Barcelona. I don't know if that's down to his advisors and whatnot, but he has taken a lot of time to do. He's been linked with a lot of clubs, and it's taken a while to come to a decision. Obviously, I believe he's been at the African Cup of Nations and things like that. And if you remember last season, he was actually close to going to Seville, I swear, people. But it is what it is. For what it's worth, apparently Manchester United, like I said, have already agreed personal terms, so they just need to come to an agreement with his current employers, which United would have no problems doing with their checkbook and whatnot. Moving on from that, Neil Lennon's had a bit to say about Tierney. Not really anything, but how you lot want to take it, you can draw your talking points from it, sort of thing, people. But he said, in regards to Tierney, he's been getting on with his work, and maybe this is the end game as far as Arsenal are concerned. We're in a good position, we have no intention of selling, he's on a long-term contract, and we want him to progress with us. I've got some more, people, give me a second. And this, again, it's not in chronological order, but he said, as far as I'm aware, it's finished with Arsenal. That's the vibe I'm getting. I don't know if Arsenal are going to meet our valuation. My advice to Tierney is just to let it happen if it's going to happen. If it doesn't, then try to re-engage yourself with what you're good at, which is being around Celtic people. Carrying on from that, again, we are talking hypothetically here. The deal, as far as I'm aware, is not happening. We are delighted about that, obviously, and it's just a question of appeasing his mind now. I'll have to speak with him about it, and I'm sure the club will as well, but it may ramble on as well until the window closes. We can't relax, and I'm sure that Kieran can't either. I know, having been in that position myself, how unsettling it is. Apologies, people, it's central London, madness is going down. That was starting to put me off as I was reading, but that's very ambiguous comments that he's thrown the gauntlet in that. On one hand, Tierney can leave, on the other hand, we don't know what's going to happen. On the other hand, he's staying. So that there's still, obviously you've seen rumours that we're out of the running and things like that, and we're at stalemates and things, and that might be true, but this, even if that does come, even if that is what happens, and that's ironically the end game, you'd like to think this isn't finished now. That's me sounding a bit upbeat, but you'd like to, you almost crashed your car. That's a bit, it's sounding like something can happen, because that's smart. Why would he give a sort of vibe into three directions? That's telling you that a part of Celtic are open to still agreeing, and they want to agree, but it's just at the end of the day, they want their money in it. They want the money how they want it. You've seen rumours how we're structuring it in a certain way. It's mainly based on how we get in the Champions League, and that's, from an Arsenal point, that's cool, but from a Celtic point, they're within their rights to go in and demand what they want. For me, when I see 25, 27 million for a player, I'm not a transfer man, but for someone like Tierney, I would pay it in it. But the club's within their rights to stagger payments however they want. Clearly they don't want to lose the player, but every player has a price. They've brought in a left back, forgive me if I'm wrong, in the eventuality that if anything happens. I like to think we've got replacements. I know Unai Emery's talking about he doesn't want plan Bs and plan Cs, but and again, I don't think his comments are to be taken in this light, but you'd like to think there's plan Bs, Cs, Ds, Es and Fs and the rest of it, because these things happen, they're stalemates. You'd like to think there's still a position of power of sorts, a position of power of sorts in regards to that's a madness. A position of power of sorts in regards to the business negotiations. It's going to be a long drawn out process. Obviously, the longer it goes on, the more anxiety Arsenal fans get, because me personally, left back and centre half are priorities for me. And I know I'm dreaming and I'm really being deluded and it's not going to happen. And ironically, he played yesterday and played quite well when he came off the bench. But a dream would be Marcelo on loan, man. Like, I mean, I can, just to humour you guys, I mean, we're getting Ceballos on loan. I don't know if Marcelo has buyers. There's been talk of Juventus and all of these sort of clubs and these sort of moves there. Whether that happens is another case. But can we take him on loan for a year, cover some of his wages and whatnot? He'd be good in the wing back system, of course. It's a short-term fix if the Tierney deal doesn't happen, giving us obviously a season to find another target or to go again for him. Obviously as well, it presents him with a playing future because he's not been in the Brazil squad and he's been linked with a sale. So in regards to him, it's probably the craziest time for him, in that it's Marcelo is one of the best fullbacks in the world, people. But it's like, he wasn't in the Copa America squad. Mendy's come into Madrid and he seems to be the guy. It's like, this is the first question mark. Maybe a move to Arsenal on loan, London lifestyle, and all of them things can reignite him. Of course, his wages, his age, his profile. If he really is for sale, there's a couple more reputable clubs than us, clubs that are playing in Champions League, that can go out and get them. So that one there is nothing but humour. But on that front, people, there's not really anything more to add. So I'm going to get out of here. People, DG.